Hi and welcome back to my channel. So this is a video I've started and stopped and started and stopped, and I'm just gonna try and get through it all in one take. Sorry, my dog's right here. Puppy. This is my dog Tyson. He's a big baby. So it's really early in the morning and I'm up. So he was sleeping in my bed. Hope you guys don't mind. It's okay, but so I wanted to talk about common drug misconceptions. I went to a meeting last night and it was really good. I have 118 days sober today, so that feels really good. Since I go with my parents, they always like me to speak, just to share some of my story. My parents share and then I share, and it's really cool. You just kind of get like both. Sorry, I'm making it a little bit brighter. I think that looks better. You just get like both sides, you know, of what people are going through. A lot of times, you know, you only hear like the addict point of view, but I think it's really good to hear family's point of view, especially because a lot of the parents there have lost children to the addiction, and it really makes me think about how I used to think that my family would be better off if I wasn't alive. I used to want to die every day because I felt like such a burden, and I didn't think that there was a way out. But anyway, some common misconceptions of drug addicts are that that there's a certain kind of person that becomes an addict, that only like the homeless people on the street or uneducated people or tattooed people or young people or whatever become drug addicts, and that's not true. Addiction does not discriminate between race, age, social class, anything like that. One of my doctors was a drug addict. I did not know that until he was raided by the feds and is no longer a doctor. Lawyers are addicts. Cops are addicts. Mothers and fathers are addicts. It doesn't matter how much money you have, what kind of education you have, what background you come from, if you have loving parents, if you don't have loving parents. It affects everyone. Another misconception is, you know, that people just wake up one day wanting to be an addict. It just doesn't happen that way. I'd say probably 80 to 90% of people that are addicts actually became addicts from like a legitimate illness or not illness, but like accident or something, like back pain. I've had knee surgeries starting when I was like 14 years old. My knee issue started when I was like 12, 13 years old, and I was getting my knee drained and I was put on like Norcos and Vicodin without being supervised, because the doctors assured my parents, you know, that this isn't addictive and it's totally fine. A lot of people start that way from like back pains or accidents or sports injuries, things like that. And they give you these pills and then you get hooked on them, and then they'll cut you off, but you're addicted to them now. You get sick without them, you know, or the pills just get too expensive and too hard to get. So then people find out about, you know, heroin and things like that, and they realize that it's cheaper and it's easier to get. A lot of people that I've come across have been strung out that way. Let's see, what else can I talk about? I probably should have wrote all this down. Like I had it in my head, but then of course I start filming and I go blank. This happens every time I sit down. Some other misconceptions. A lot of people don't understand actually how hard it is to get help. They make it sound really easy, if you have a drug addiction, to just call like a 1-800 number and get help. But for a lot of people, even if you have really good insurance, it costs a lot of money. For a lot of people, the rehabs are billing their insurance like $6,000 a day, $5 to $6,000 a day. And if you don't have insurance, I mean, just for a month in rehab with my detox, it was about $20,000. Not everyone has that kind of money. A lot of people put a mortgage out on their house to send their kids to rehab, and for a lot of people, they need to go to rehab several times. Sorry, excuse me. Come on. Come here. They need to go to rehab several times in order to get it. It's just some people need once, some people get it right away. It puts a lot of people in the poorhouse. Another misconception is that if you get drug dealers off the streets, that the epidemic will be better. And the fact of the matter is the drug dealers are just as sick as the users. And although they may be profiting off the epidemic, they're not what's causing the epidemic. If society and people actually wanted to do something about like the opiate crisis going on right now, they would go higher up and be questioning the doctors that are prescribing these medications, or even higher up is the pharmaceutical companies that are making these kind of drugs. And like the lawsuit for OxyContin was one of the biggest lawsuits in American history, and it was found out that they were pushing these drugs to doctors, and, you know, doctors get kickbacks and stuff from the pharmaceutical companies for writing certain drug prescriptions over other drug prescriptions. And they told doctors that this was not an addictive medication, and they were putting commercials on TV for OxyContin. And it was later found out that they knew that it was highly addictive, but they were bearing documents proving that it was addictive. So doctors were pushing these medications thinking that it was okay for everyday use, even though the pharmaceutical companies knew that it was, super addictive. So there's a lot of information that people don't realize. I didn't wake up one day and think I want to be a heroin addict. I never thought that I would be a drug addict. There's a lot of shame and guilt that comes with being an addict. That's another misconception. A lot of people have a hard time asking for help because they don't want to be judged. There's such a stigma that comes with being an addict and that comes with having mental health issues. And that's something I really wish would change in this country. You know, there's so much money and attention around like cancer and illnesses like that, you know, and going towards a cure and stuff. But what about mental health? Most people struggle with some form of mental health, whether it's seasonal depression, clinical depression. I'm bipolar. There's a lot of mental health issues out there, and a lot of that causes like eating disorders and drug addictions because it goes untreated. And I really feel like, you know, if there was more money and more of like a spotlight on that stuff, that maybe we could really start changing, you know, the world and the perception on this stuff. And I think it's really important. No one wants to be an addict. No one wants to feel the shame and the judgment of people for being an addict. It's really hard to come out and say that people aren't okay, you know? It was the hardest thing in the world for me to ask for help and admit, like, I don't have the answers. And it turns you into everything you hate. You know, you could be the most honest, giving, sweetest person, and you could continue to be that, but your addiction will make you lie for it. It'll make you steal for it. It'll make you do whatever you have to for it, you know? And it turns you into everything that you hate. You could be a moral person, but addiction will bring you to do things you never thought you'd do. Anyway, this video is already getting kind of long, so I'm going to cut it short here. Maybe I'll make a part 2 on this, but basically those are some common misconceptions I feel like a lot of addicts go through, and a lot of people don't know about people with addiction. So I just thought I'd share that. All right, thanks guys. Like, subscribe.